stay tuned because for the next 60 minutes, Motorsports Unlimited is on the air. Hi, I'm Jerry Bryant, and these are the lovely ladies of motorsports. And all this hour, we're going to have 60 minutes of action-packed excitement. All kinds of exciting things will happen. And we got the famous Bill Wildt, and we got all kinds of other good stuff that's happening all this hour. Motorsports Unlimited, 60 minutes of non-stop action. So let's go to the studio right now, huh?
Thanks, Jerry, and hi, everybody. Welcome to the studio headquarters of Chicagoland's most watched, most talked about Access television series. I'm Samantha Bentley, and this is the 850th edition of Motorsports Unlimited. Hold on to your hats, because today we've got action. We're taking you to Illiana Speedway in Schererville, Indiana. We tried to do this a couple of weeks ago, but we're rained out. Rain won't be a problem today, though, because it's a beautiful day. Our regular viewers will recall that we last visited Illiana some 5 years ago when the track was being rebuilt. We're happy to report that the work is done, and it's beautiful. Let's join Bill in the infield of Illiana Speedway as he chats with track owner Mike Mikuly.
What a difference a couple of weeks makes. We are at Illiana Motor Speedway in Schererville, Indiana, and a couple of weeks ago we came here, and if you look at our website, msutv.com, you'll see that we had a picture of me standing there with my hands turned up by the Illiana Motor Speedway sign, kind of showing you that it was raining like crazy, which doesn't always show in pictures. And we were so disappointed because it's been about 5 years, at least 5 years, since we've been to Illiana Motor Speedway. And as a matter of fact, the last time we were here, it was about February. More than half of the track was completely gone. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, oh my God, will they ever get this thing back together again? Well, guess what? They sure did. And when I say they, I think I'm primarily talking about Mike, who's standing next to me. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, I'm Mike Mikuly, owner of Illiana Motor Speedway.
You are, and before we get into anything else, by the way, I have with me right now Wednesdays. Chuck, come in on this, please. I'm going to do this. Chuck, just to show the audience that that's Wednesday's Chicago Sun-Times. Can you see that yet, Chuck? I don't want to... Are you there? Yeah. He's got it, okay. And I'm going to open to page 18. Okay, hold it up for me. And come in right here, Chuck. Come in right here. Can you see that? You got it? And then pull out slowly a little bit so the audience can see what the whole thing is about. Anyway, what I'm saying is that Mike Mikuly made the papers, made the Chicago papers, and I'm not surprised because, of course, Illiana Motor Speedway is really a Chicagoland facility. Talk to us. Why were you in the paper?
The Chicago Motor Speedway up on Cicero is closing down, and they were going to have an auction, and they had bleachers and a lot of stuff that we could have used out here. And we spent about 6.5 hours going through everything, marking everything down, and the town of Cicero beat us to the punch.
So the fix was in?
Yeah, they kind of got everything.
Yeah, everybody was mad.
Yeah.
Right.
More discouraged than anything because of all the time spent, and we saw so much that would have helped us here.
Well, that's really what I wanted to talk about. I had the opportunity, because of the rain out, I had the opportunity to spend maybe an hour or so in the truck with Mike, talking to him. I didn't know him that well before, and now I understand the whole Illiana Speedway thing. Just briefly, Illiana Motor Speedway was carved out of this ground by a man named Harry Molenaar. How many years ago?
Back in the 40s.
Back in the 40s, he took his Harley-Davidson motorcycle, ran around in a big circle out here, cut the track that way for a good period of time at the beginning. It was a dirt track, and then, as I understand, he got mad at the AMA.
Yeah, he had a few problems with Harley, and he ended up going over to the stock cars, the USAC stock car series.
As dirt or pavement?
As dirt.
Okay, still dirt.
Still dirt, and then in 61, he paved it.
Paved the track because he was really mad at AMA.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's been a paved track ever since then. Now, Harry Molenaar was a wonderful guy. I think I have the last interview of he and his wife, Sig, on tape, and I treasure that. I'm really glad we got it. She passed away about 6 months after we did that interview, and Harry at the time was about 90 years old. How old was he when he passed?
87.
Okay, he wasn't 90. He was 87 years old when he passed away, which was about a year and a half after his wife passed away?
No, it was actually a few years later. And matter of fact, you can probably look at the signs up in the stands here, and I have all the exact dates on them.
As a matter of fact, Chuck, if you would am I standing right in the way of that sign? You want me to get out of the way? Step over here, Mike, so they can get that. I want him to get that sign. Okay, step right over here. Go ahead. If you can see that, they've got a nice memorial sign up there for Sig Molenaar. Can you see it now, Chuck? he's got it up there. I'm glad that you haven't remembered these or haven't forgotten these folks, because they're true heroes of motorsport, no question about it.
Oh, definitely. You know, if it wasn't for Harry and Sig and all the work they did here, I mean, they literally hand carved this out of their own, you know, blood, sweat, and tears to do everything. Sig was always out here. She was cleaning stuff, and Harry was out here. I got pictures of him climbing the light poles to change the light bulbs.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time. All the time.
And when Harry passed away, we were all concerned that Illiana Speedway was going to be no more. This often happens. We lost Santa Fe Speedway that way. When Howard Teat passed away, it only lasted for a few more years and it was gone. And that's not the only one that's been that way. Along comes, I hear about this Mike Mikuly, and he says, they say, no, the guy's a racer, and he's going to keep the track going. And I'm saying, yeah, okay, wait till he finds out what's really involved and all that. Well, guess what I found out here a few days ago when we spent a fair amount of time together? This is a labor of love for you.
Oh, it's absolutely. You know, I mean, I raced here for a lot of years. I really enjoyed what I did. I was a builder by trade, and I could just see what was carved in here, and just with a few improvements to bring it up, I knew what this track could really be. And this has been a kind of a dream of mine for a long time.
Well, what I overheard him say that I really liked is somebody said, what is this, your second home, Mike? He says, no, it's my first home.
Yeah, this is my first home. My second home's over on the other side of town.
You like this just fine?
I just about live here. I need to build my house here.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. That's pretty cool. We got somebody that loves his work and loves what he's doing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what he has done here. First of all, the last time I raced at Illiana Speedway, I was so impressed. It felt like the Daytona 500 to us, because most of the tracks and local tracks are quarter miles, and this was a big half mile. Now, NASCAR has kind of changed the language in the country. They call anything that's less than a mile a short track, but we considered half miles big tracks. And I'll tell you, it was so rough going into the corners. You have to remember the heavy stock cars under braking going into the corners year after year after year, kind of roll the pavement up, and it would literally shake your teeth out. The track now is absolutely beautiful. It's smooth all the way around, completely repaved, correct?
Oh yeah, everything inside the walls here has been completely redone. A lot of the catch fences, the lighting, you name it. About the only thing we haven't changed the grandstands, and if Cicero hadn't beat us to it, we might have got those changed.
That's what you were thinking about, going to Cicero?
We were looking at a lot of the stands over there.
In addition to that, do you have any kind of a motorcycle background?
Not at all. I rode for a lot of years, but
well, I am really surprised, because they do. Now, we're familiar with the big half mile. By the way, that's some late models out there warming up, getting ready to do some hot laps. And of course, we're all familiar with that. And Chuck, if you would, show the audience the quarter mile that we have in here. You promised you were going to build a second track, and you did.
We needed something for the beginner to get on. The half mile is very fast.
You bet.
And you hate to put somebody out there that has no experience. So I decided back years ago, Harry had the quarter mile here in dirt. So we kind of recut everything back in and went off the old format, changed a little bit. Now I've got my beginner division, which was our turbo stocks, which is a pretty much a street stock style car. And about 2 months ago, we introduced a 4-cylinder pure stock division, which is just like rabbits. We have so many of them now, we have to break into 2 heat races.
And as I understand it, you run those in what I call a TT race.
Right, well, like tonight, we're gonna do a hound and a hare race with them.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Chuck, if you would, do we have to move? I want you to show the audience the exits in the middle of the short. Can you see that without us moving? Okay. You've got an X for figure 8 racing cut into the middle here, but that also offers something else. You can run down the front stretch just like on a short track, go around corners 1 and 2, and turn the cars into the infield, make a right-hand turn in the middle, come back out up where we're standing, and proceed around to the front stretch again. I always call it a TT track, because when we race motorcycles, that's the way they set up TT tracks. That's why I ask about the motorcycles.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. We kind of do with our pure stock division. To keep everybody on the same page and everybody keeping their car stock, they never know which way they're going to go that night.
So they might have right turns, they might have left turns.
Exactly. They could be going counterclockwise, clockwise. They may take the chicane off the front stretch, off the back stretch. We run them about 10 different ways now.
The final thing I want to talk about, and I hope the audience can still hear us, the final thing I want to talk about is the hare and hound race that you run. And that's one of the reasons I also ask you about motorcycle racing, because before motocross was invented, and believe it or not, motocross wasn't always here. It came to America in about 1958 from Europe. Before that, American dirt racing of that kind was called hare and hound scrambles. And essentially it was the fastest guy led, and he picked the way to go, and he led until he got past, and then that guy. Now you do the same thing here.
We do the same thing with our turbo stock division. We make 1 full lap. Whoever's leading that lap becomes the hare. Everybody else becomes a hound, and the only way you can change it, and they have anywhere on the X they want to go. We've had them cross right next to each other on these races. The only way you can change the direction is past the leader. If you miss the turn, you're out.
Now, how long do you run those number of laps or a timed race?
We try to run about 10, 15 laps with it, or attrition, however many cars are left at the end.
Okay, final question, and again, I hope the audience can hear us now. Final question is, you've got a race that you run here where the second man across the line wins.
I didn't hear you at all.
Okay, you've got a race that you run here. Second man across the line wins. Explain what that's all about.
That's in our pure stock division. Not only do we change directions with them, but every now and then we'll throw in a little niche that it's the second guy across the line wins a race. So
well, that means nobody would go across the line. They would stop on the start-finish line.
Pretty much about 5 foot from it, everybody stops, and all of a sudden somebody will try to push somebody through it, and there'll always be somebody who'll spoil it and come around and get them both.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, or they roll over.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for taking the time. Folks, I hope you heard some of this. This is Illiana Motor Speedway. Haven't been here in a long time. I'm so glad it's here. I'm so glad that we've got a Mike Mikuly. These are the real heroes of our sport, like Kevin Dawson at Lake Geneva Raceway and Tony Izzo out at LaSalle. If we didn't have guys like this that love the sport and love being involved with it, we probably wouldn't have these local short tracks anymore. So I hope you're going to enjoy what we show you tonight.
Let's begin by meeting the late model point leader.
I was not surprised to see when I went on the internet to the Illiana Speedway website that our old friend Davey Waltemeyer, is it okay if I call you Davey even though you're the point leader?
Yeah, no problem with that.
Okay, our old friend Davey Waltemeyer, God, we've had you on at least a half a dozen times, I think, huh?
Yeah, we've been on there a few times.
Well, I was not surprised to see that Davey Waltemeyer is standing atop the point standing at Illiana Speedway. He is as bullet fast as he is a nice guy, and no more Raceway Park.
You know, I miss Raceway Park. We had a lot of good times out there. We're trying to make up for it out here at Illiana, all the stuff we learned out there, but I miss the place, and we're glad to be racing out here in Illiana.
This is a great track. Has Mike done a great job repaving and redoing this whole thing, or what?
Mike's did a great job. You know, they got 2 grooves. It's excellent racing. The fans see a good show every night.
You actually have 2 grooves?
Absolutely. You'll see 2 groove races tonight, top and bottom, and either one of them are fast or all your cars set up, and well, Mike's did a great job with the track, and you'll see a great show tonight.
Well, that'd be terrific news, because I kind of thought Lake Geneva Raceway was the only 2 groove track around, but because the old Illiana was not 2 grooves.
No, it wasn't. You run the bottom there and you were holding on to everything you had, but out here it's definitely 2 grooves, and you'll see a good show tonight.
Okay, first of all, tell the folks who you are and where you're from.
My name is Davey Waltemeyer. I'm from Dyer, Indiana.
Okay, because I said it wrong. I keep saying Waltemeyer and it's Waltemeyer.
No, it's Waltemeyer. You got it right.
You said it wrong.
I say it wrong. Waltemeyer, but it's Waltemeyer.
Okay, tell us about your car.
We got a 2002 Monte Carlo left-hander chassis. Joe Ryan built us the motor. We got some great sponsors: the Novi Heating and Cooling, Highland Body Shop, BD Motorsports, Escapo Buick GMC, and they've been all but supporting us this year, and we've been having a pretty good year so far.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you years ago. When I look around at these local short tracks and I watch guys, I say, there's the next Winston Cup guy. What do you think? When is it going to happen?
Well, I think I'm too old for that.
No, you're not.
The way things are these days with young guys, I could sure be a part of a Whistler Cup team someday and consult and then help learn some of them guys the stuff I know. But as far as driving goes, I think it's passed me by. But I've had a great career, and I'm still happy racing.
I was going to say, hopefully you don't think this racing thing passed you by, because you are famous in this area, my friend.
Well, we work real hard at what we're doing, and we had our share of winning, and we're real grateful for that. But we're still going for it, and unless we can start losing races, we're going to keep on racing.
You know, I'm having a problem here tonight. I don't know why it is, but I expect to see Frank Olinsky.
I'll tell you what, he dominated out here so many years. He's a good friend of mine, and I believe me, he can get in the car tomorrow and win a race. It's
I believe that, yes.
It takes so much with the time and the money and stuff, and he was falling a little short on that, and he bowed out as a winner, and if I can win as many races as he did out here, I'd be real happy.
That's a nice goal to shoot for, no doubt about it. Now, you've got a guy nipping at your heels in the person of Mr. Mike White, who we've also had on the show years ago at Raceway Park. This guy was always tough down here. Is he just as tough here?
Man, he's a great racer. He's won a championship out here I don't know how many times. He runs hard every night. He runs hard every lap, and we can't lay down a bit because Mike is tough.
Okay, I also understand that there is I'm going to say it this way, and you'll probably know what I mean, that there is a Boris story.
Absolutely. Boris is a good friend of mine, and he came out here last year and he kicked our butts, boy. I tell you what, it was a long winter. We worked real hard to get where we're at now, and he'll be out here tonight, and he's doing a great job, and he keeps us on our toes.
And as I understand it, he used to work for Mike White.
Yeah, they're relatives. They're brother-in-laws, and they work together, and Mike taught him a little bit. Maybe Mike taught him too much because Boris is out here running real good.
And I understand on the racetrack, it's definitely swapping paint.
I'll tell you what, man, them guys race harder than anybody I know, so they don't give up nothing on the racetrack. They might be friends off the track, but on the track, they're digging.
Okay, now is there anything that I haven't said about what's going on here at Illiana Speedway? We haven't been here in 5 or 6 years. Is there anything that I haven't said about it that I should say about it?
No, I think you covered it all. It's going to be a great show. You missed some good two-lane racing. What you see tonight, you'll be able to spread the word that this place has really come around.
It is. Now, you guys never run on the short track.
No, we haven't yet, but I'd like to give it a shot. I'm
Wouldn't
pretty
that be
good.
fun?
The short joints are pretty good, so I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, like maybe a trophy dash or something there.
Let's do it someday. I'd like to do that.
Okay, my friend. Well, listen, it's good to see you again. I'm sorry your wife isn't here right now, but please say hello to her. They were a terrific team. This, of course, is Davey Waltemeyer, one of the very best in the Midwest.
He sure is. But the next driver we're going to talk with ranks right up there with him and is currently second in the late model point standings.
It was not a surprise to me either when I checked the Illiana Speedway website that our old friend Mike White was second in the point standing. Waltemeyer and White have been having a duel since the old Raceway Park days, am I right?
Well, I didn't get to race with him too much at Raceway. That was he was already running other places, but since I've been running Grundy and Illiana, we've been running together quite a bit.
Tell the folks who you are and where you're from.
My name's Mike White. I'm from Molenaar, Illinois.
You know the thing that I most remember about you, Mike?
Got to be way back when we did your show over by Stage.
Exactly. I think you were about, what, 18 or 19?
Early 20s anyhow. So.
Okay, well, the thing that I found most interesting about Mike White, he was just a kid at the time, and I was asking him about passing at Raceway Park, and passing at Raceway Park is very difficult. It was a tiny little, fifth mile?
Yeah, just a little smaller than a quarter. So
Smaller than a quarter mile. And it's almost impossible. And Mike described to me, well, the way you do that is that you kind of get under the guy a little bit. You cross up high and then cross underneath him, kind of move him over a little bit coming out of the corner and pass him on a straightaway on the inside, right?
Yeah, that was how you did it. You had to use the bumper a little bit there because there wasn't much room.
And I said to Mike White, well, Mike, I understand that, but the guy that you're trying to pass also knows that, and he's going to keep you from doing that. Do you remember what you said?
I don't remember.
He gave me a steely stare as though he were 50 years old with 30 years of experience and said, well, if you do it just right, he isn't going to have anything to say about it.
Yeah, that's true. So,
and that's, I'd never forgotten that. I thought, gee, this is a tough guy. And you've done very, very well over the years, and I bet you miss Raceway like the rest of us.
Yeah, we miss Raceway. I mean, that was always a great place to race and a lot of action. Yeah, too bad things had to change the way they did.
Really, I'm very sad about that. Now, Illiana, though, I'm so happy that a Mike Mikuly came along and, breathed new life into the place, and it's going to be around for a long time. Did any of the work, any of the experience you got at Raceway Park prepare you for the big half mile out here?
Yeah, anytime you're racing, you're learning the awareness of what's going on around you and setups on the cars and, learning how to be competitive. And so you carry that on to other racetracks. I mean, quite a bit different way you go about it here, but a lot of it helps for sure.
Okay, something that's always been kind of curious to me, because we do see guys coming from the Midwest, lots of them, Rusty Wallace, Joe Ruttman, and others that I remember seeing here racing at Illiana Speedway and Lake Geneva Raceway and all the rest of it, end up in Winston Cup. I always kind of thought, Mike White, he was a young guy, very fast when I talked to him. Always thought maybe you got a shot. What do you think? How old are you now?
I'm 38 now, so a lot of time's passed, and I don't know how that whole deal works as far as, I never really looked to do that. You needed, I guess, to be at the right place at the right time. And
a big bag of money.
Yeah, a lot of money, and we were just pretty content to run around here because we enjoy it a lot. So,
tell us about your car.
This is a couple-year-old car we got. It's a Rander car chassis, Joe Ryan motor. It's a good race car. We're doing a lot of work on it this year to improve. Dave's got us beat by a little bit, but we're getting closer every week. So,
I'm sure that'll go nip and tuck all year long.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple weeks I've been pretty happy with the car. We just had a couple situations that were a little unfortunate out there, but hope for tonight.
Why do I think that it has something to do with that? Well, if you do it just right, he isn't going to have anything to say about it. Was it something like that?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, any of the people that help you here you want to mention?
Well, we got a whole bunch of guys that help. Tom Rose, a car owner, and Ron Watroba. A guy we call Evil, his name's Greg Gajewski, and Billy Reeby, Hank Pugh, that's our crew.
And your sponsors?
We got Auburn Plumbing Supply. We got Quality Plumbing. We got White Insurance.
That's not you, though.
Not me, nope. Just insurance man.
No relation.
No relation. R&S Auto Body, Woodmar Auto Sales. There's a whole bunch of them that help us out. And
I think that's great. I love to see it when the local businesses support the local racers. Now I've got to ask you probably the most important question, and I understand this is a big story out here. Watch his face, folks. Chuck in, come in kind of tight on his face. Now watch his face. Tell me about the Boris story.
That's my brother-in-law. Hard racer, good racer, awful fast. We've had some battles, you know.
Oh, I've heard you guys have had some battles.
Yeah, but that's the way it goes. I mean, it just seems like...
Maybe you showed him a little bit too much?
No, he learned a lot on his own. I mean, at the beginning there, I was able to help him and was glad to do it. And then next thing you know, he passed us up there last year. So he's another guy you got to watch all the time because he's awful fast.
Okay, and I understand, though, he doesn't race here full-time anymore, that some of the guys have moved up the ASA series and that, and so they only come in when they're on their off weekends?
Yeah, he's always been running something other than here. He had that Remax car, which is now the International Series, NASCAR Traveling Series, and now he's running ASA and doing pretty well. So, yeah, that doesn't leave much time to get back here, but when he can, he comes back.
Well, is there anything that we haven't said about your efforts or about your car that we should say before we move on?
I think we're all set. I mean, you know, we've got good stuff here. I'm very fortunate with my sponsors, and we're all good friends, so it all works out real well, and we have a lot of fun.
Well, just like I said about Davey Waltemeyer, you're not going to find a nicer guy. Well, the same thing can be said about Mike White.
Now let's meet the man currently third in the late model point standings.
When I looked at third place in the point standing on the Illiana Speedway website and I saw the name O'Connor, I got all enthused. I thought it was Jimmy O'Connor from the old Santa Fe Speedway days. Well, this guy is way, way, way too young to be the same O'Connor. First of all, tell the folks who you are and where you're from.
My name is Joe O'Connor. I'm from Thornton, Illinois.
Okay, you probably never even heard of Jimmy O'Connor, have you?
No, I've definitely heard of him because a lot of people have asked me if he's a relative, but none that I know of anyway.
Okay, first of all, tell us about your car. What have we got here?
This is a 2002 Chevy Monte Carlo. It's a 97 Rander car chassis. Has a Joe Ryan 355 in there.
That makes number 3, Joe Ryan Motors.
That's right. We got to go to the best. We're sponsored by Duke of Oil and the Auto Fix and Zell's Roast Beef. They've been with me for about 3 years now.
Okay, you look too young to have been racing for 3 years. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Oh, well, you're older than you look. Of course, everybody looks young to me. This starts happening when you turn 60. I found that out already, and I don't like it one bit. Tell us about your career. What have you been doing? How do you happen to find yourself at Illiana Speedway, third in the late model point standing?
Well, we started racing like everybody does in the lower divisions with Enduros at Raceway Park in Blue Island. Then we moved up to a semi-pro division at Raceway, won a championship there. We moved over to Grundy for a year. Then ever since '97, we've been here at Illiana running Mid-Am, and this is our second year in the late model.
Okay, this is a big difference, though, because Illiana is a big, it doesn't sound like much to the audience when they say a quarter mile, third mile, and then it's a half mile. Half mile is a big deal difference than a quarter mile or third mile.
Oh, definitely. We really get cooking out there. You really run the car into the corner, use a lot of brake. It's a lot of fun racing here.
I understand. In fact, we've been told, Davey Waltemeyer says that it's a legitimate two-groove racetrack.
Oh, it's an awesome racetrack. I mean, that is one thing you could definitely say about Illiana. You can run on the outside and run on the inside and be fast in both places.
Well, I think we all got a lot to be grateful for that we've got Mike Mikuly, you know, otherwise this track might not be here anymore.
That's for sure. Mike's done a fantastic job over the last few years with the improvements he made, and they keep on coming, so it's great.
Tell me a little bit about the points race. Do you have a shot at this thing this year?
You know what? I really don't know. I'm kind of surprised we're hanging in third there. We've been working really hard, and we hope to be able to give these guys a shot for it. But we're kind of a lower budget team, so we're really happy with where we're running.
It sounds to me like you really enjoy racing.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Okay, is there anything we haven't said about you, your career, or the car? Some you'd like the folks to know?
Probably not. No.
Okay, well, trust me, when NBC asks you that in a couple of years, steal that time.
You got that right.
Okay, folks, in case you only thought there was only one great O'Connor.
Bill mentioned the Boris story a couple of times because we understand it's a big controversy at Illiana. Let's meet the center of this controversy.
Well, you know, they didn't tell me this guy was this big, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with the Boris story. We've alluded to this earlier with Davey Waltemeyer and with Mike White that the Boris story is a big one here, but first of all, introduce yourself to the audience, please.
My name is Boris Yurkovich. I'm from Molenaar, Illinois, and I've been stock car racing since 1997.
As I understand it, at one time you worked for Mike White.
Yeah, he's my brother-in-law, and I helped him out. I got my feet wet learning about chassis with him. He taught me a lot.
Maybe too much.
Well, that's yet to be determined.
Well, I'll tell you something. This has actually turned out to be a pretty big controversy down here. Controversy is probably the wrong word. Let's just say a little bit of excitement for the fans, because apparently when you and Mike White get on the track, there's no love lost. It's not family then.
It's racing. Racing is a tough sport. Mike's a good racer, and I like to race hard, and when we get together, we get some good racing.
Okay, as I understand it, you're last year's track champion here at Illiana, but this year you've kind of gone on the road and you're not making all the races, or that's not correct?
Yeah, we're racing ASA full time right now, and this is actually the third time this car's ever been on the racetrack, so we're still working the bugs out of it.
What do you think so far?
I think tonight will be good. We got a good car.
Okay, what we're doing, and just so the audience knows too, that typically when we go to these tracks, we haven't been here in 5 years. What I do is look at the points list, and I'll take the first 3 guys in points, and then pick a couple of other guys out that everybody says will be running at the front, and they say you'll be running at the front despite the fact that you're not up there in the points because you're not here every weekend. And they also tell me a fellow named Eddie Hoffman, very fast, likely to be up front. True?
Yes, absolutely. Eddie's a good racer. He's got a brand new.
He's got 3 cars here.
He's got well, I don't know what he's got here, but he's got a brand new left-hander that they've had a lot of success with the car, and it just goes to show you them guys are on top of the game.
Tell me about your car.
Same thing, brand new left-hander. We're not as fortunate as Eddie right now. We're still struggling a little bit, but I think tonight we might work the bugs out of it and get some good racing in.
Okay, I noticed one of your sponsors, perhaps the only sponsor, is Lots of Fun on 40. What is that?
Lot of Fun on 41. It's truck accessories and caps. They're on Indianapolis Boulevard, right down the street here.
Okay, other than that, you're pretty barren on sponsors. I imagine you're out working for that.
We're always looking for sponsors. If anybody wants to get in contact with us, Mike Mikuly.
What racer isn't, right?
Right, absolutely, everybody.
As a matter of fact, winning races, setting track records is probably easy compared to getting sponsors.
Yeah, I always tell my guys, we just got in a discussion about this, and my guys, they wonder why we don't get sponsors, and I tell them I'm always working on the car. It doesn't free my time up.
You're exactly right. You have to spend full time just chasing sponsors. Many local guys have been frustrated over that, but it's the truth. That's the way you have to do it. Now, one other thing I want to mention, folks, obviously this is an hour show. We don't get to talk to everybody. We bring you this. You have to come to these events in person to really enjoy and appreciate them. Chuck, take your camera shot down that way. I want to show the audience the line of cars, and after you get done that way, I want you to go the other way. There are in excess of 100 cars here tonight. We're only talking to a few of the guys that we think are the big stories, like yourself and the Mike White thing and all that. You look very young. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Well, you're not as young as you look. The question I ask a lot of racers, if all the good things happen in racing that can possibly happen, and I'm not talking about what's reasonable or anything like that, I'm talking about what do you dream about, where do you end up?
Well, I think everybody has the same goal in life. You want to be Winston Cup racing.
You know, you are making Tony George roll over in his office. You know who Tony George is?
Absolutely not.
He owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the reason he started the IRL was just what you said. He says all the kids out there are dreaming of the Daytona 500 right now instead of the Indianapolis 500, and it made him crazy. He didn't like the way the sport was going. That's one of the reasons he started the IRL and all that. It never even occurred to you to be an Indianapolis driver.
Well, I'm too. If you look at me, I'm too big to drive one of those cars first off, and I like the fender banging action.
Okay, well, Chris Neifel, I don't know if you know who Chris Neifel was. He was 6'6", and he did a lot of GTP cars, and the cars had to have a special bulge put in the roof of the cars. And what about Formula One? Same thing there? You're too big for it?
Yeah, too big and too old.
Okay, so Cup car would be for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys, you might just see it. From what I hear about Boris, and I'm not even going to try the last name, but from what
Boris Yurkovich.
Boris Yurkovich. From what I hear about Boris, this might be a guy that is really going places.
There was one more late model driver Bill wanted to squeeze in. Eddie Hoffman is someone that everyone at Illiana Speedway speaks highly of. Let's meet him.
Well, you know you've made it big in motorsport when you have to stand in the pits and argue about which of your 3 cars that you're going to drive tonight. So we know we're talking about a big-time guy, and as a matter of fact, we'll get into that a little bit right now. But first, introduce yourself to the audience and tell them where you're from.
Eddie Hoffman from Wheaton, Illinois.
Okay, my friend, the story that I get, and I ask these guys when they come down here what the stories are and who's likely to be running at the front of the late model feature tonight, so we make sure we get them on camera. And of course, the point leader and second and third in the points, and your name came up about 15 times. Why?
Well, we run real good here. We don't run here all the time, but we put a new car together, for some late model specials and for this track. We're close by here. The Lisa Thomas Salon team is just down there in Tinley Park, Orland Park. So we put a car together, and we've just hit it right off the bat with a real good setup and a real good car, a real good engine, and I think we've won 3 out of 4 here so far.
Well, as I understand it, you don't make all the races here. That you run ASA?
It would be NASCAR Touring, which is International Truck and Engine Series this year. It used to be REMAX, so it's a NASCAR Touring Series.
So you're going to kind of follow Johnny Sauter?
Well, I think my day is come and gone for there. Me and Johnny have raced together, and we've raced this year together, but Johnny's doing his thing, and we'll be doing this pretty much all year and probably for the next few years.
As I understand it, you're pretty successful. Have you decided which car you're going to run tonight?
Well, we don't have any choice tonight. We've only got one straight rail short track car, and this is the Taurus.
Straight rail meaning?
Meaning that the right-hand frame rail in the car is straight, which offsets the car more, and that's pretty much a late model short track car. These NASCAR touring cars, the Monte Carlos, are a perimeter car like a NASCAR, almost like a Busch or Winston Cup car, where they have door bars and everything on the right-hand side. It's not offset so much. A safety issue, for one thing.
Right, so the audience understands that at the local short tracks, in all likelihood, you're allowed to have more left side weight bias, so those cars would not be legal on the NASCAR touring circuit. Is that about what you're saying?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, I want to impress the audience, so I want you to step over with me this way 2 or 3 feet, because Chuck, you got to show it off. When a guy's got 3 cars all identically painted, you got to be pretty proud of this, because I'm sure it wasn't always this way in your career.
No, and yeah, We've got the 2 cars, NASCAR cars we've had for a couple of years, and Tom Kamak, the owner, decided to go ahead and put a local car together and paint it the same. And as long as I keep them off the walls and keep the parts under them like we have been, then we can have 3 running race cars, and we do right now.
Tell us a little bit about where you came from in racing. Nobody starts at this level, obviously. A lot of youngsters ask me, how they get started. Where did you get started?
I got started as a youngster helping my dad. My dad was here, track champion at this track.
I was not aware of that.
Grundy County in Morris, so he was started at O'Hare Stadium in the '60s and did the whole thing. And
you're the first guy. I raced at O'Hare Stadium my stock car days when I was 17, and you're the first guy I've heard actually say O'Hare Stadium. That's because it's been gone so many years, since '65, I guess.
Yeah, we can never forget that place. And I was a 6-7-year-old running around and under the grandstands there, and Dad was racing. And when he came here, these other tracks, as soon as I got old enough, I worked on the cars, became a crew chief, and finally in '86. The ripe old age of 26, I jumped in a car, ran, 5-6 years of enduros and street stocks, and we moved up to the late models.
Okay, and as I understand, one of the most successful guys at this track, that even though he doesn't come here very often, when he does come here, everybody knows he's going to run at the front of the pack. Now, is your dad still around?
He's still around. He did move to California. He's semi-retired out there. He does come back and forth, and sooner or later we might stick him in one of these things.
He's got to be pretty proud.
He's proud, and he's actually still racing himself a little bit out there. Yeah, he's
How old is he?
60-something, well, if you ask him, he's about 50, but he's still running out, actually, with a late model out at Irwindale Speedway.
Okay, is there anything we haven't said about your effort that we should say? Any sponsors we haven't mentioned? Any crew people, crew chiefs? Help us understand the Eddie Hoffman effort.
Well, it's the Lisa Thomas salons. Tom and Lisa Kamak, they own the cars, they own the salons, and we don't have any full-time, paid help. Dave Dotter and Johnny Signor are the 2 main guys that take care of these cars. Without them, we certainly couldn't do it. It's a team effort. It's a big team effort. We travel at all the NASCAR touring races, and right now we're having fun. And as long as Appleton Rack and Pinion helps us out, and Fred's here, and Quantum Graphics, they supply the numbers. Everyone on down the line, Redkin and MR Lee Building Materials, they make it happen for us. And they're going to be out here tonight, and this is just going to be a fun night.
You know what I always find interesting, and it's something I'd love to share with the public. Chuck, if you can, take a look at the crew guys. I mean, these guys work, and not just your team, every one of these teams as we work around here. As soon as the driver rolls in, they're underneath the car getting tire temperatures and writing the information down and changing whatever needs to be changed and all of that. And what very few people realize is none of these guys get paid for this. It's all a labor of love, and what they really get out of it is every once in a while, their guy runs good that night, and that is really keeps them good. Am I right?
Yeah, you need to have those good runs to keep everybody pumped up, and the better you run, the more momentum you get, they get pumped up and you do better, and it's a big circle, and everyone knows their jobs, they have their things that they do, and it's almost like a dance class over here when we get going.
Well, I wish you the best of luck now, and if there isn't something that we haven't said about your effort, now is the time to say it.
No, just wish everybody out here good luck and have a good, safe race.
Absolutely, and by the way, folks, I'm pretty sure that in the action footage a little later on, you're going to see Eddie Hoffman prominently.
We'll get to that action in a moment. Right now, we want to remind you that there are other divisions racing at Illiana. Let's meet the point leader in turbo stock class.
Boy, these are names I haven't seen in a while. Tom Turtle, of course, race tire supplier, used to be at Raceway Park.
I raced there a couple times, enduros.
Did Tom supply tires down there too?
Yes.
Okay, but more important than that, Chuck, if you've gotten away from the shot, I want you to come back here because we cannot fail to mention Stosh Coleman. Stosh Coleman was an absolute fixture, both at Raceway Park and Illiana, and maybe Morris. He was a fixture in racing for many, many years, and we lost him this year. Do you know how old he was?
No. Ray Young was out here.
Really?
Remember Ray Young?
Oh, yeah.
And he was all upset over Stosh.
Yeah, it's again, Stosh, we're thinking of you. We haven't forgotten you. Now we are in the back 40 here, and Chuck, I want you to broaden your shot and swing around a little bit. And this is what happens to these poor guys that run the lower classes. They get stuck out in the back 40, and what they're here to do is to learn how to be race car drivers. Do I have it right?
Yes.
Okay, your name is?
Craig Antmeyer.
Craig, I understand you've learned pretty darn well because you're the point leader, and this is, I believe, it's called a turbo stock.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us what a turbo stock is.
It's supposed to be beginner class. There's a lot of competition out here this year. Last year, towards the end of the season, I won 7 features in a row. This year,
wow.
Yeah, this year, this is my 3rd in a row. Was last weekend for the Memorial race.
And where are you from, Craig?
I'm from Lansing, Illinois.
Okay, and we got a pretty important guy standing right next to you over here. I'd like you to tell the audience who you are.
Bud Antmeyer, Craig's dad.
Okay, and you said that you come to the racetrack to worry so you don't have to stay home and worry.
Yeah, we're staying home and worrying.
How's he doing? Is he doing pretty well?
Doing good. He's my buddy. Proud of him.
I was going to say, is there anything much
Very
cooler than a father and son working together on motorsport or race car? Anything much better than that?
No, there isn't.
No, it's great.
We were always into stuff since he was born, just about, right?
So obviously you're pretty
go-karts and everything else.
You're pretty tight with your dad.
Yes, very.
Okay, where do you want to go in racing? You're obviously very successful in the turbo stocks. Where do you want to go?
I'd like to move up to Mid-American next year.
I want to know what you dream about. Where do you end up?
I'd like to be in NASCAR someday.
Not NASCAR. You want a cup car. I see the number 20 on your hat. Truth be told, you want Stewart's seat.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I want to know what you dream about. Absolutely. And by the way, believe me, the folks in NASCAR are thanking their lucky stars that kids like you at these local short tracks around the country are dreaming of getting to their Daytona 500. That's what they wanted to achieve, and they've obviously achieved that. Now tonight, as I understand it, you guys don't always run just an oval.
Yeah, we always run ovals.
Well, I understand sometimes you run hare and hound.
Yeah, we ran that last year. They didn't do that yet this year.
I think there might be a surprise for you.
Oh, really?
I don't know for sure.
I ran it last year. I won it.
Did you like doing it?
It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, I have one question. I think I know the answer. I'm going to give the answer, and then I'm going to ask the question. Number 73. Who do you most not want to lose to?
Her.
Yeah, it's a girl. We've got a girl competitor in this class. I understand she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's doing good this year. That was her husband's championship car last year, and she's running good this year.
And nobody wants to be beat by a girl, even in today's modern era, right?
Yep.
I know exactly how you feel. Well, listen, guys, best of luck tonight. And you don't obviously need any luck because you're doing pretty darn well without any luck from my part. Folks, point leader in the turbo stock division.
Let's meet that person that no one wants to be beaten by.
Well, folks, you see all of these cars, 4 different divisions of racing here tonight, everywhere from $100,000 cars to $1,000 cars. And I would guess at least 100 competitors, and I am now going to introduce you to the one competitor that nobody wants to be beat by, because even in this enlightened age, no guy wants to get beat by a girl, and not only that, she's a pretty one at that, and you are.
I'm Cher Bryant.
Where are you from, Cher?
Midlothian, Illinois.
And you drive the number 73 car?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been doing this?
10 years now.
No!
Yeah.
You don't look old enough for that.
I am.
Are you aware that the guys do not want to be beat by a girl?
Oh yeah, they tell me all the time.
Okay, but that doesn't bother you?
Not at all.
Because I understand you're pretty darn good.
I'm okay.
Okay, tell me about your car. What have you got here?
I have a 1984 Monte Carlo. It's built, it's a championship car for the last 2 years at this track. My fiance, Alan Powell, drove it, and it's mine this year because he's had problems with his back.
Okay, are you running as good with, or as well with it as he did?
I'm right up there. I'm not as fast as he was. I still am trying to get used to the car.
Okay, the one thing I do want the audience to know, because I'm just teasing here a little bit, because we in the motorsport communities hold our arms open for more female competitors. I am guessing, and I don't know, but I am guessing these guys are glad you're here racing with them.
Oh yeah, a lot of the guys really appreciate that I'm out there. I tell them to treat me just like one of the guys. Don't treat me any different.
But I'm sure that they don't deliberately try to rough you up or anything like that.
Some do, some don't.
Okay, but it's fine with you. It's all fair game.
It's fair game.
Okay, and what would you like to accomplish in motorsports? If all the good things that can happen, I want to know what you dream about. Where would you like to go?
Well, I'd love to get more sponsors to try and even move up a division, but that's kind of hard to do when you're a female.
Well, no, it's actually easier to do when you're a female, because believe me, it's just as hard for the guys, if not harder, because they're not pretty to start out with. But what I want to do is I want to know what you dream about, not what the next reasonable step is. What if you want to be in the Daytona 500, I want you to say it. If you want the Indy 500, if you want a Formula One car, what do you dream about? Where would you like to go?
I'd love to make NASCAR.
That would be a dream for you?
Oh, yes.
Well, folks, NASCAR has accomplished just exactly what they want to. Not only are all of the guys here wishing they were in the Daytona 500, but so are the girls.
Here is one you saw a few weeks ago at the Crown Point, Indiana Car Show.
Folks, if you watched our Crown Point Car Show, the 27th annual Crown Point Car Show, you're going to remember this car, and quite frankly, this is where we remembered about Illiana Speedway and put this whole deal together to come down here. I want you to meet this fellow one more time, and you are?
Kurt McKinney.
Where are you from, Kurt?
Hebron, Indiana.
Okay, as I understand it, you're the point leader in the Millennium division.
Yeah, in the Millennium late model division.
And this is a brand new division. Explain what role the Millennium division. Now we know about the late models, and we understand the Mid-American cars. Where do the Millenniums fall in?
Millenniums basically are a division in between the two. Basically, the basic chassis and everything is the same as the late models. We run a spec motor, spec tires, 8-inch wide rims. We run a 6600 rev limiter.
Is that something that's commercially available, a rev limiter like that?
Every week, one of the tech people here at Illiana Speedway comes and they inspect the rev limiter, the box, and then put your chip in to the car. So
okay, so that's how they control the RPM. And folks, what this is all about is to try to reduce costs in racing.
Right.
When you run the engines up over 6,000, 7,000 RPM, you make lots more power, but you shorten the life of the engine dramatically. And so what this is about is trying to do some restrictions so the cars still kind of look the same, handle the same, feel, and sound the same, but cost a lot less. Idea? Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's basically about a third of the cost of what a regular late model costs. They limited us on motor, shocks, tires, and the 6600 chip. And basically what it is just to keep we got a 90 something chassis underneath this car, whereas it's to keep the cars that are more equal together out there on the track, more competitive racing.
Okay, most important question. If all the good things happen to you in racing that can possibly happen, what do you dream about? Where do you end up?
I would like to win a championship right here at Illiana.
No. That's way too reasonable. If you want Jeff Gordon's seat, I want you to say so. If you want Michael Schumacher's seat, I want you. What do you dream about?
Oh, I would dream about racing against Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Okay, so Winston Cup is that would be your big dream.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Well, once again, I want to say that NASCAR has accomplished what they want to accomplish. They've got all of the kids at these local short tracks dreaming about getting to the Daytona 500.
You got it.
We have one more point leader to meet. Then we'll get to the action footage.
Motor racing is almost always a family affair, and when I see something like this on the window, I think it's probably something pretty important. We are talking to the Mid-America, well, he's going to help me, class point leader, and I want to find out a little bit about that story too, but first of all, you are?
I'm Kevin Monk.
Where are you from, Kevin?
I'm from Elwood, Illinois.
Where's Elwood?
It's right by the Joliet Route 66 racetracks.
Okay, great. Well, I know what you're thinking about then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. The thing to your mother there, what's that all about?
Well, my mom was our biggest fan. She got cancer a couple years ago. Mine and my brother's and brother-in-law's biggest fan. We all race.
Apparently she passed away then?
Yeah, she did.
Well, that's a touching tribute that you've got up there. Tell us a little bit about am I saying Mid-America or Mid-American? What is the right name for the series?
I think both is basically right.
Okay, explain it. Where does that fall in?
That falls in the Mid-America series. I think they started all these rules and just stuck with it.
Okay, no, what I mean by that is that we would, at this track, the late models would be the highest division, the Mid-America cars would be next, and then the Millennium cars, and then the turbo stocks. What's different about the Mid-America cars than the late models at this track?
At this track, they got a wider tire. They got a full tubed out chassis under them.
You're using a stub?
Yeah, we're using stock GM metric frame.
Ah, the whole frame?
Yes. The only thing we can change is from the rear end back.
These must be considerably heavier then.
About 200 pounds.
Well, that's not a lot, but it is heavier. What do you want to accomplish in racing?
Go as far as we can.
What do you dream about?
You know, as
folks, I can't get these guys to dream. I don't understand this. If you want Jeff Gordon's seat, I want you to say so.
I think anybody would like Jeff Gordon's seat.
Some people would like Michael Schumacher's seat. Some people would like a ride with Michael Andretti. What do you dream about?
Well, right now we've already accomplished more than I thought we ever would. I think if we made it up to a Hooters Cup level or a Busch level, I think that'd be great.
Okay, well listen, I wish you the best of luck. Good luck tonight. You're the point leader. Have you got any feature wins with that this year?
Yeah, I believe we got four wins here, and we won one up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, so that's right. The Mid-America Series is a traveling series.
Right.
Okay, well, best of luck to you tonight. Thanks for spending a little time with us, folks. Chuck, put your camera shot on the car. Keep an eye on this one for the possibility of a feature win again tonight.
We've met the point leaders in all the divisions and learned a little about some of the big stories at Illiana. Now, this is a 1-hour show, and we can't show you all of the action, but we're going to try to give you a good-sized piece of the late model feature. Before the main event starts, we wanted to talk to one of the Illiana officials about some interesting restart rules.
We are in a little intermission period here, waiting for the feature races to start, and we wanted to talk to one of the officials here at Illiana that works so hard every week to put a great program together, and you are?
Tom White.
Where are you from, Tom?
Algonquin, Illinois.
Boy, long way for you every week.
Probably about an hour and 30 minutes, maybe.
Wow, how long have you been doing that?
Oh, probably 30 years.
Well, okay, I guess he's used to it by now. What do you do down here?
Starter, chief starter.
Okay, as we've explained on Motorsports Unlimited so many times, when it comes to these local short tracks, the starter is absolutely in control of the race, and you were just explaining something about what you do in the last 10 laps of some of the features. Explain.
Here at Illiana this year, we are using the, actually it was instituted by the Lake Geneva Raceway. It's double file restarts. We put a cone on the start-finish line. Within 10 laps to go of the feature, we set get the field lined up single file, and we have a runner set a pylon cone, an orange cone, right at the start-finish line, right center of the racetrack. The leader comes by, gets to choose. He's out by himself. Then from second on back, the cars come to the cone. They can choose inside or outside. So if the second, third, fourth, and fourth place car run up the inside, and the fifth place car decides to run up the outside, he'd be outside second row. So there's a lot of strategy involved, and it promotes two-lane racing and bunches up the field, and so far it's working pretty good. The fans love it. Race car drivers are a little divided, whether they like it or not.
They'll like it if they win.
Yeah, you know, the way we feel about it, it can help you or hurt you. Like I say, a lot of strategy involved. But on the same token, if you were to have some bad luck, get a flat tire or something, and have to go to the back of the field, you'd have half a chance. If there's 24 cars in a feature field, you double them up, you're 12th then.
I think it's actually a good idea, an interesting way to kind of spice it up there towards the end of the race if a caution comes out. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for spending a little time with us, because it kind of sounds like they're getting ready to go again.
Now, let's get the main event underway, the late model feature.
The late model feature is underway, and as you can see, third in the point standing, Joe O'Connor is moving into the lead. Oh, it doesn't look like he's going to be out there by himself for very long, because here comes Mike White, the 00 car, and it looks like he's on the way to the front. Mike White is coming fast. And it sure does look like this is a two-groove racetrack. They're slowing. We've got a yellow flag. Somebody's gone around. It's the number 18 car.
After a brief delay for track cleanup, the feature got underway again.
We're back underway with Joe O'Connor out in front. By the way, that number 7 car, the sheet that I'm looking at shows that that's part of the Darnell family, and I'm not really sure if that's if it's the Darnell family that I'm thinking of, but that's Eric Darnell according to the sheet that I've got. In any event, back to the front now. We've got Mike White chasing down Joe O'Connor, and Mike White looks very determined. Okay, we're later in the race because while Mike White and Joe O'Connor were going at it up front, number 8, Eddie Hoffman, was working his way forward. And guess what? It looks like he's caught Mike White. And by the way, Mike White did, in fact, we skipped ahead in the race a little bit. Mike White did, in fact, get by Joe O'Connor. And about 5 minutes elapsed until this point in the race. And it looks like Eddie Hoffman is chasing down Mike White. Definitely a two-groove racetrack out there. We've got Eddie Hoffman inside, Mike White on the outside, and both going very fast. You don't really need a call on this one, folks. Just watch these two fine drivers work. Gone around. There's going to be a caution.
There is no question about it. Illiana is a two-groove racetrack, as Mike White and Eddie Hoffman are demonstrating. Let's get back for the restart. We've
got the number 8 of Eddie Hoffman out in front and Mike White trying to run him down. Hoffman took the lead just before the previous caution flew. Can't help but wonder if Mike White used up his tires in that duel that they had. And guess what? Here comes the number 16 car of Davey Waltemeyer, and he's coming fast. David Waltemeyer, number 16, is your current point leader in the late model division. Mike White, the 00 car, is second in the point standing. So this is important. Both of these cars are running one behind the other. And who finishes in front of who is very important. Oh, look what we've got back now. This is Boris now. And I'm going to try that name, Boris Schererville. I hope I'm saying it right, Boris, because he's awful big. The number 53 car I'm talking about is coming up past the 71. Oh, the 71 car gets in the wall. He gathers it in. Oh, amazing. He gathered it in. He hit the wall pretty hard. Let's see if there's anything wrong with the car. Just about lost it. I've got a feeling there's something wrong with the 71 car now. But he was able to pass Joe O'Connor in the number 12 car, so I guess everything is all right. Very fortunate. That was a hard tap into the wall. Back up front. Oh, yes. Look what we've got. The number 16 car of David Waltemeyer and the 00 car of Mike White, and they're starting to go side by side. Very fine drivers here, putting on a tremendous display of driving. Neither one of them is touching the other, and they're both flat flying. This is important, who finishes second and third, because this will determine who's in the point lead. I say second and third, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ed Hoffman, yes, has checked out because these guys are racing hard side by side and running a little bit slower than Eddie Hoffman is. But Eddie Hoffman is up front, but he can be caught. But Eddie Hoffman has a big lead, and we are on the last lap now. It looks like it's going to be Eddie Hoffman and either Mike White or Davey Waltemeyer.
Eddie Hoffman, your late model feature winner, with Dave Waltemeyer second and Mike White filling out the top three. And just in time, because we're out of time, with only enough left to acknowledge the fine work of our award-winning production team, including Chuck Itzenthaler, Sue Cassanda, our webmaster Frank Barbalase, and Tom McGrady. Special thanks to JBTV's Jerry Bryant. Music is created for us by Fireside Recording Studio in Westchester, Illinois, and by independent artists Roger Pauley and Jerry Herbert. Of course, we have to take a moment to thank the stars of this edition of Motorsports Unlimited, Janine Loshot, and our host, Bill Wildt. Me, I'm Samantha Bentley, pleased to see the new Illiana Speedway and excited to find out it's a genuine two-groove racetrack. Great track, great drivers, great cars, and great competition. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
This program made possible in part by support from the Chicagoland Toys for Tots Motorcycle Parade, held on Western Avenue in Chicago, the first Sunday in December.
This program made possible in part by support from J.C. Whitney & Company, located just off I-80 at the Utica exit in LaSalle, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from Jimmy's Red Hots, located on Grant Avenue and Pulaski Road in Chicago.
Motorsports Unlimited is produced by Bill Wildt, president of the Motorsport Advancement Crusade. This program made possible in part by support from State Farm Insurance agent Dr. Robert J. Alaruzzo, located in Roselle, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from ABC Auto Parts, located on Ashland Avenue at 138th Street in Blue Island, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from Bridgestone Firestone and your local Bridgestone Firestone tire retailers.
Motorsports Unlimited was created to raise public consciousness, understanding, and appreciation of the motorsport community and their activities. You can contact us by email at msutv.com, or you can write to us, Motorsport, P.O. Box 66242, Chicago, Illinois 60666. We enjoy hearing from our audience. Please let us know what you think.
Next week on Motorsports Unlimited, we're taking you to Homer Glen, Illinois for a car show that's not a car show. We're going to Chris DeSalvo's annual cruise night at All Pro Performance. Of course, when a DeSalvo is involved, you know we're going to have Mopars. But it's not just for Mopars only. There are all kinds of cars at this event that's sort of like a car show, but it's not. You'll understand next week when you join us on Motorsports Unlimited.
So that's it, another edition of Motorsports Unlimited and the lovely ladies of motorsports. And be with us next week because we'll have something real exciting. Bill Wildt's going to have the lovely ladies, and just about anything can happen right here on Motorsports Unlimited. Every week at this time, we bring you the best in motorsports. So be seeing ya. Bye-bye. And keep on rocking.